I start tonight with a simple truth. Our ancient continent has been a multicultural, multilingual, multi-faith land for thousands of years. I acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners of the land on which we stand, alongside hundreds of First Nations peoples. The centuries of intermingling with the peoples to our north, of British and European migration heritage, and now to this miracle we see here tonight and enjoy in Victoria and Australia, modern multicultural Australia. Despite the small minority who deny or protest this basic reality of our land, the vast majority of Australians cherish our multicultural character. Indeed, our human diversity is our nation's defining characteristic and greatest strength in the century ahead. That's true across Australia, but nowhere more than here in Victoria. Now, I'm a proud lifelong Melburnian, and it's so good to be here tonight. Not just because it's sandwiched between two sitting weeks and I get a weekend at home. But Canberra's okay. We give it a bad name, it's a lovely place. But I can say without a doubt, of all of the hundreds of multicultural events that I attend across the country, this Premier's Multicultural Gala is the best. Here in Australia's most cosmopolitan state, everyone looks fantastic. Proud Australians, proud Victorians, proud of your heritage and identity. A room tonight, as the Premier said, in which everyone belongs. On behalf of the Australian Government, I acknowledge all of the dignitaries, political, community and faith leaders. But a very special shout out to our Premier, Jacinta Allen. Now, Jacinta is an old friend. Well, not old. Used to think our age was old, but it's not old. She's someone I've known and admired for near 30 years since we met, as babies. Babies who like champagne. But what you see with Jacinta is what you get. She's smart, kind, authentic, tough, and thoroughly decent. Watching Jacinta become, over the years, Australia's most experienced, longest-serving female cabinet minister in the history of our nation was wonderful. And now seeing how she's growing into her role as our Premier is a delight. Thank you for your strength and compassion and leadership, which came through so beautifully in that powerful speech. Never taking a backward step in standing up for equality and building a society in which everyone belongs. Thank you for hosting us so graciously tonight. I'll just make 3 points. Firstly, a grateful thank you to everyone in this room for your leadership through the good moments and the tough times. Now, the majority of people here volunteer their time in communities to make other people's lives better and make our diverse society work, to welcome and help people adapt to life in Australia, to come together to celebrate and cherish cultural traditions, and to share those traditions with other Australians, the intercultural piece. The role you play and the advice you give to governments is genuinely invaluable, and the Australian Government thanks you for it. Secondly, an acknowledgement that while we have so much to celebrate here, we can never take our social cohesion and our progress for granted. These are tough times in many parts of the world, with conflicts and tensions on nearly every continent. Our society, as the Premier said, is globally connected. What happens overseas impacts daily life here. We see this still with the horrific and ongoing conflict in the Middle East, causing pain and trauma for Australians, worried about loved ones in Palestine, Israel and the region, protesting the loss of innocent life and rightly demanding that the killings stop. We saw it this week with the shocking revelations that a foreign regime orchestrated violent acts on our shores, which is already now the subject of bizarre conspiracy theories. The point is, though, that whenever tensions arise, it is the task of leaders, including so many in this room, to rebut misinformation and ensure that these events do not divide or harm our society. For example, the ancient scourge of anti-Semitism, Jewish Australians are not responsible for the actions of the Netanyahu government, whether they agree with them or not. Nor are Iranian Australians responsible for the actions of the Ayatollah regime, nor Muslim Australians for violent actors who seek to hijack a peaceful religion, exacerbating the spike in Islamophobia here. We're also not immune to the forces of right-wing extremism and populism. The Federal Parliament paused this week to mourn the shocking murder of the 2 Victorian police who were honoured earlier, who were simply doing their duty. They will rightly be mourned and remembered as heroes. Sadly, that small minority amongst us who deny reality and contest our multicultural nature plan to attend rallies tomorrow, organised by a grab bag of neo-Nazis and other fringe dwellers. We are a nation of migrants, and there is no place in our society for hate. Every Australian, no matter what their heritage is, deserves to feel safe and welcome. Australians of Chinese heritage copped it during COVID. Australians of Indian and South Asian heritage are a target of those stupid rallies. The point is that an attack on one of us for our identity is an attack on Australia, which diminishes all of us. The Australian government stands with modern Australia in condemning these rallies against reality and the motivations of the organisers. They are not marches for Australia, they are marches against Australia. I will always stand with and stand for multicultural Australia. Racism, of course, exists in every human society on the planet. But it is very, very sad that some of our fellow Australians, who may otherwise be good people, are so scared of people who are different to them and get sucked in by these events and ethnocentric narratives. How we as leaders act and react to such events, though, impacts our social cohesion and our well-being. Which brings me to my final point. Despite all of this, let us be incredibly proud of who we are and optimistic about our future. The overwhelming majority of Australians love our multicultural character. We see it in the research, we see it in the decency of most of our colleagues, neighbours and friends. And we saw it at the federal election, when Australians overwhelmingly rejected the politics of fear, division, discrimination and toxic negativity. Those leaders who choose to operate still in an echo chamber, pandering to their most extreme supporters, will fail. They failed nationally, and they will fail here in Victoria, most especially. Real leaders cannot talk out both sides of their mouth. Australians will reject these attempts to create some half-baked Australian MAGA, and they will reject leaders who try and play footsie with these forces. An Australian to me is anyone committed to our country and our democratic institutions and to that basic principle of mutual respect for their fellow Australians, who may be very, very different in their heritage, their identity, their beliefs. Social cohesion does not imply that everyone agrees or is or thinks the same. It's about mutual respect and accepting that we have more in common than we have differences as Australians, while disagreeing agreeably at times. Multicultural success takes leadership at every level, and government alone is not and can never be enough. So thank you to our Premier, and thank you to every one of you here tonight for the work you do in bringing people together as Australians in this great nation of ours. Thank you very much.